and they just laughed their asses off. So no joke, this happened, and it wasn't out of malice. In this video, I want to talk about the concept of the Mythical Man Month. And this term comes from a book by Fred Brooks that was published in 1975. And even though this book is super old, the concept is still very relevant today. So the idea of the Mythical Man Month is that man and months are not interchangeable, in that adding manpower to a late project makes it later. So the reason why adding people to a project can actually make it more late is because of communication. The more people you add, the more the cost of communication explodes. Also, you have to onboard new members to a team. So if you start with a group that has all the background and context that's relevant to accomplish a task, you're much more likely to be successful than adding people throughout the project. Now, this concept that Fred coined is not intuitive because people are used to looking at work where adding people actually makes it faster. The classical example is folding laundry. If you have laundry to fold, you can add more people to this problem and it will actually be accomplished much faster. But the reason for that is because each worker that's folding laundry does not need to communicate to the other worker in order to accomplish their task. So this work can be partitioned and can be executed independently without communication between people. But that's not what actually happens in software projects. That's very far from reality. And that's why this doesn't really work in software projects. One phrase that encapsulates this really well is that a woman can make a baby in 9 months, but 9 women cannot make a baby in 1 month. I've come across this Mythical Man Month idea many times throughout my software career. So the teachings from Fred from so long ago are still relevant today. So one example that I have was at a time where I was working at a startup, and we had a project that we had to deliver by Christmas. And the senior leadership of the company was very, very interested that this deadline would not slip. And my team was in charge of this work. And one time the stakeholders came to me, we had a meeting, and they asked me, what do you need so that you accomplish this deadline by Christmas? And I told them what I need is that you don't touch the team. Because at the time they were thinking of moving one member to work on something else, and they had some dubious plans for another member. And I just said, please don't touch the team until we deliver this, and that way we have the best chance of succeeding. And they said, okay, we can do that. On top of that, we have the budget to add like a contractor, a very experienced contractor to your project that we can recruit and we can add so that things go faster. And I told them, actually don't. I don't think that will help because we would need to onboard that person and everything. So I don't want more people, especially people that would be new to the company. And they just laughed their asses off. So no joke, this happened. And it wasn't out of malice. All of the people in that room I have close relationships with, but they thought I was being very naive in not accepting extra help. But what I knew and that they were forgetting is that, hey, onboarding this person so close to the deadline is actually going to be a lot of extra work. It's an investment, and that investment will actually not pay off in time for us to have better odds of delivering the project. So what they were proposing would actually not help. Maybe from a political point of view for my career, it would have been good to say yes to what they were offering because then I covered my ass. Like, hey, I accepted the help that was offered. If we slipped on the deadline, then, well, I did what I could, right? And I was leaving myself a little bit exposed because I said, hey, no, don't add people. And that way, if the deadline slipped, they could always come to me and say, hey, we offered more help and you didn't take it, this is on you. So yeah, I was taking a little bit of political risk for this, but definitely my call there was the best for delivering the project on time. The team did not need more people at that point, it wouldn't help. Now, funny thing, there was a miscommunication in that meeting. So like I was very, very clear that I did not want a new person to be added to this project, a new person new to the company. However, I went on a very, very short break and a contractor got hired anyway and put on my team. So when I was back, surprise, surprise, someone comes to me and says, hey, we have a new contractor, good news, and they're on your team to help you deliver this project. I was like, what? I mean, I had this conversation. The team doesn't need more help for this one. And I'm also very concerned about the onboarding I was told, don't worry about it. Like, this contractor is like very, very expensive. He's a rock star. Like, in 2 weeks, he will be delivering value. And that turned out not to be the case. Actually, that contractor did not work out. The value that he was bringing was not enough for the very, very high compensation that he was taking. So adding that person added so much risk, because it's one more person that we need to onboard, one more person that makes all our communication exponentially more costly. And in the end, that contractor did not even work out. So he stayed with us for a bit over a month. And I had to spend like quite a bit of effort to assess whether he was a good fit for the company, which he wasn't. My team also took quite a bit of effort to onboard him. And that's the thing, like, that project had a deadline, so they cut corners in recruiting that contractor. Instead of going through a normal process to make sure the contractor had the right skills, they just cut it and said, hey, this person comes from a reputable outsource company and they're very expensive, therefore that equals good. Not the case at all. So I've experienced this. I think it's very common for any software developer or manager to experience this in their lifetime. And it's good to have this idea of the Mythical Man Month in your mind. Also, so that you can reference it, so other people understand what you're talking about when you ask them to consider not adding more people to a project that's late. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. And if you like this content, give it a like and subscribe. I publish content like this all the time, and see you in the next one.